and what the UK is doing here in Pakistan, what I do on a day-to-day basis, what I'm looking at in the longer, medium term for trade, and how the UK looks at trade policy around the world. It's going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour. Some of this may be very new to you, some of this it may be very old hat, but hopefully I will give everyone something interesting. So I'll crack on. So I am the Deputy Director for Trade for the UK government here in Pakistan. I'm based in Islamabad, and that means I am essentially the lead in any government-to-government lobbying in Islamabad. And my boss is the Deputy High Commissioner, and he is based in Karachi. And that is where the bulk of my team is, because Karachi, as you all know, is very much a business centre of Pakistan. I've been here 2 years already, and I put in an extension to go on for a third year because I love being here in Pakistan. I think it's a really great country, and I think it's got a lot of opportunity to offer. So I really want to be a part of that bilateral trading relationship that we have, and really see it move on to the next stage. And so part of my role is to be an ambassador for Pakistan to UK trade, to UK business, and to be able to maybe counter some misperceptions that other people have of Pakistan, and talk about what a great country this is, and how we see UK trade being a vital partner to Pakistan in trade. The UK is currently Pakistan's third biggest export market. You know, we have really good people-to-people links. We have a huge South Asian diaspora back in the UK, and I think a lot of people here probably either have friends or family who have studied or lived in the UK. And those relationships are hugely, hugely important to us. So what I'm doing when I'm talking about Pakistan is when Christian Turner, the High Commissioner, first came to Pakistan in late 2019, one of the first things on his to-do list was to make sure that the travel advice was changed, and so really sort of opened up, you know, what does make Pakistan is a safe place to come to. You know, we encourage people to be able to come to Pakistan. And then two other things we did was we got British Airways flying regularly to Islamabad, and now we've got Virgin Atlantic coming to Pakistan as well, and so that is both Lahore and Islamabad. And that's 21 flights a week. We're talking pre-COVID times. At the moment it's a bit of a frequency cap, but there are 21 flights a week in normal times between our two countries every week. And that is because we have those strong relationships, and we want to build on them, and we want to do more. And that's a really good way of us being able to show to other companies, this is a great place to come and do business, and it is so easy to get to. So what have I done in the last couple of years? Obviously COVID has been a little problematic, but it has been good for me and my team, because what I have done is I have doubled the size of my team. So originally we were a very small team, we were basically 4.5 people, but half being the Deputy High Commissioner, who is very focused on trade, but also has to do all the other stuff that comes with the job of being a Deputy High Commissioner. And we've now doubled it, now 10 people. We are in Islamabad, we are in Karachi, and we've also opened an office now in Lahore, because Punjab is, you know, it has half the population of Pakistan, and we had no representation here. So obviously we had to open an office here. I'm delighted my colleague Rahan is here on the front row. He'll pass me notes if I forget anything. Yes, so we have done a lot to be able to reach out into Pakistan, understand the opportunities better, understand the barriers better as well. Because as I said, I do a lot of lobbying and talking with the government, and I need to understand those barriers. I wanted to cover off that I won't be talking about anything to do with macroeconomics. I had a conversation yesterday, the Dean and I, and the BHC, the British High Commission, is a huge mission actually. It's the biggest one in the UK's global network. It's between Pakistan and Washington DC, but Islamabad just about tips it. And because we are lucky to have such a big team, it means we have a whole economics team who cover that section off. What I do is I work on trade, and so that's what I'm going to talk about today. Trade specifically, not the bigger macroeconomics elements of it all. So on a day-to-day basis, my team is here to help businesses, talk to businesses. If it's UK businesses looking to expand into Pakistan, we give them help and support, help them to understand what the business environment is like. We match up. We act as a matchmaker a lot, actually. We have our priority sectors, which for us is predominantly healthcare and education. And those are two sectors which I think the UK has a lot of expertise and Pakistan has a lot of ambition. So what we're looking to do is match up that expertise with the ambition. And so we have partnerships that are mutually beneficial and therefore long-standing, will have a great and long-term impact. One of the new sectors we're looking at in the last year has been what I term green infrastructure. So what does sustainable infrastructure look like for Pakistan? How can we help Pakistan build the cities of the future, or look at the infrastructure now? This includes some really exciting projects on wastewater management, which the UK has a lot of expertise in, and it's certainly something that we're looking to do a lot more of in the future, so renewable energy, stuff like that. And we'll touch a little bit more on that in a second. These sectors have been really great to work in. I've had a lot of really positive experiences over the last few years that I've been here. We had a virtual education trade fair, which we would have never done under non-COVID times, but COVID has been really good for us in a lot of ways, and one of them is rolling out this virtual trade fair and this matchmaking with universities and then and partnerships with those in the UK. We had, and in healthcare, for example, I talked about we have expertise. We had a PCR test from a company called Primary Design, which at one point, before PCR tests were quite so widely known about and spread, it had 1/3 of Pakistan's market was from the UK. We were there, we have the expertise, we've invested in that technology, that research and development, so that when the crisis hit, we were able to say, we can help you, we've got PCR tests, please have these. So in the last couple of days, just to give you an understanding of what it is that I do and talking to companies, I've been talking to some really big sector companies, so Sapphire, Nestle, US Apparel, people with really sort of strong links around the world. And I've been talking to them about a number of issues. One is how are you finding trading here in Pakistan? But one of the biggest things that we are talking to them at the moment is ahead of COP26, so the Committee of the Parties, which is looking at the climate of the future. What can we do as a world to really tackle the climate change crisis? And I've been talking to companies about what are you doing specifically to hit the target of the race to zero. So this is a target that has been set up, and it's a global target. It was a global challenge, I should say, to be carbon neutral by 2050. And so I'm talking to companies like, what are you doing about this? I'm talking to big textile companies, US Apparel and Sapphire, and they understand the problem here. Fashion is the third biggest polluter in the world. So the fact that textile businesses are looking at this is hugely important. Textiles is the biggest sector, biggest export from Pakistan. Pakistan is hugely impacted by climate change. So the fact that we have textile companies here in Pakistan looking at how they can reduce their carbon footprint to make this huge impact on the whole world is brilliant. And it's great to see what they're doing. not just because of the impact on climate change, but also, as every business, I'm sure, looks at this, how it's going to impact the bottom line in the future. So what companies are doing at the moment is they're looking at, okay, well, how do we get rid of coal-fueled steam technology? You know, they're looking at alternative energy, renewable energies, and longer term, customers are asking, who makes my clothes? How are you making my clothes? And it's going to be a hugely competitive advantage for the companies here in Pakistan. And they're exporting into the UK. So it's really great to see that link back through the huge companies and the stuff that they're doing to make that impact better. Yes, great. So, sorry, I'm looking at my notes very briefly here. So that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. We also provide a lot of support through a fund called UK Export Finance, which I don't know how many people are aware of that. I'm assuming virtually nil, because there's not many companies here in Pakistan that are also aware of it. So I'm going to tell you about it now, so that when you are running your global, international businesses and you want to have a contract with the UK, you can step in and help. So, UK Export Finance is the world's oldest export finance agency, so it's a credit agency. And what it does is it ensures that no UK good or service fails at the contract signing level because someone thinks it's too expensive. So what they do is they look at the whole contract, they look at the UK element, they look at the Pakistan element, and they basically become the backer, they become the insurance, and they say, this is a good deal, we back it, we think it's going to work. And as soon as they have that UK government backing the deal, banks who are looking to lend money will now lend the money at much better interest rates. So this is just another way where the UK is looking to support and promote that bilateral trade between our two countries, because we have, when I first started here, it was £500 million was available. It's now gone up to £1.5 billion of available credit to support those contracts. So like I said, keep me in mind in a couple of years' time when you are running these big global multilateral businesses, and we would love to support you on that. Moving on to the second part, which is looking at sort of the wider business environment and where the UK is looking to support the medium and longer term elements of trade here. Obviously we work with businesses on that day-to-day basis, and it can be quite sort of technical and quite specific. But for us, the stronger that Pakistan's economy is, the more transparent and easy it is to do business here, the better it is for everyone. We strongly believe that, and so we, not my team, but more widely within the British High Commission, we've done a lot of work with the government of Pakistan to help streamline how we do business here. So looking at regulations, looking at all the sort of the elements that come with setting up a business or starting to trade here in Pakistan. And up until recently, this was most clearly marked through the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings. So I think about 3 years ago, Pakistan was at something like 138, shall we say, in terms of how easy it is to do business here out of the whole wide world. Obviously, Pakistan didn't want to be at that place in the rankings, and so the UK worked very closely with various elements, so Board of Investment, Ministry of Commerce, provided lots of technical assistance, and they jumped within 1 year 28 places, so they're up to 108. And we're like, this is great. Pakistan's absolutely going on the right track here. This is wonderful. We're all working together to the same goal. And we were, so obviously we continued working with them, and we were very excited to see if Pakistan would break into the top 100, and then the World Bank cancelled the rankings. Very frustrating, because we were so sure that Pakistan would sort of be able to move into that top 100. Doesn't obviously stop our work, but it is something which, going back to me being an ambassador for Pakistan, it would have been great to be able to sort of add that to our list of things that Pakistan has done. Now we just have to talk about it. They are, the regulations are getting more streamlined, but that's fine. We can do that. Another thing that we are looking at to help support bilateral trade between our two countries is through something called the Generalized Scheme of Preferences. So this is something that the UK was a very passionate advocate for when we were in the European Union, and it's known in short as GSP. And what GSP offers is essentially tariff-free access to the UK market, well, to the whole EU market. I'm just going to talk about the UK. Tariff-free access to the UK market on a huge number of product lines, mostly textiles, which is obviously your biggest export. And when we left the EU, one of the first things we did was to ensure that GSP tariff-free access to the UK market was maintained. We have since gone out to consultation with various governments around the world, including Pakistan, to say we want our GSP to essentially be the gold standard. We want it to be the best. What does that look like for you? What does that look like for us? What can we do? So that's hopefully we'll make some sort of announcement on that in the future. But supporting open, liberal trade policy, hugely important to the UK, but also having a trade policy that really supports reliance on aid. No one wants to be reliant on handouts, and what we want to do is to help build up Pakistan's own business economy, so that Pakistan is in the best place to be able to support itself, which is what we know that this is what the government of Pakistan wants. So we want to be able to do our bit to support Pakistan there. I talked about being an ambassador for Pakistan. I mean, nobody tell the MFA this. I don't think they'd appreciate me calling myself that. But one of the other ways in which I am promoting Pakistan is going to other countries, for example, in the UAE. So we did a quick survey of British companies that have a foothold here in Pakistan. We've got about 197 companies, which is not a huge amount. And then we looked at the UAE, and they have over 3,000 British companies there. And that is an excellent market for us, the UK, to tap into. So what we're looking to do in the next 6 months, for example, is to go to the UAE, find those UK companies and say, you have already decided to make that leap to trading overseas. You've already decided to understand what it is to work in a different market, a market that isn't the same as the UK, a market that could be difficult. A lot of people speak a different language. What does that mean to you? Have you considered taking a little hop over the sea and coming to Pakistan and seeing what opportunities there are here? And we've done that a bit, particularly in education, going back to COVID and the opportunities that has provided. We've done a lot with EdTech recently. I think it was with Beacon House Schools and education technology. We have seen what we can do to really open out education to more people. COVID will not stop us from educating our children. So that's what we do as part of our sort of looking towards our longer, medium term, so business environment. And then I just wanted to give one example of something that we do on sort of wider strategy. And this is probably my first introduction into trade. I've worked at the UK's Department for Business before, but it was in the press office, and then I went to the Foreign Office and I was looking at trade strategy. And this is just an example of what the UK does to support that open and liberal trade policy agenda. And this was around the 2013 World Trade Organization Ministerial. So one of the biggest targets of this particular meeting was the Trade Facilitation Agreement, and that is streamlining border processes. This is something which is hugely relevant, particularly, no man is an island. When we're talking about regional trade and the opportunities of regional trade, one of the biggest problems are border crossings. In particularly in Africa, where we have countries that are growing lots of food, and they find it easier to ship that food, to fly that food back to the UK rather than to their neighbours next door, because they load up their trucks and they go to the border and then they sit on the border. The trucks run out of power, the fridges fail, all the food spoils. So what can we do to streamline those processes, on the borders? And this is what we were aiming for at the WTO in 2013. I was brought in to help look at the wider strategy. There were a lot of voices that supported us, but there were a lot of voices that didn't support us. They're worried about, living in a capitalist society. That's fine. Everyone has, things that they need to look after. And so what I did was I looked at, okay, well, who are the influential voices and how can we make them talk up? How can we make them show their support now before we get into the room, before we start this negotiation? And so we looked at, a wide variety. We wanted to get those voices up and running. And then, obviously, one of the biggest wins for us would have been to get the FT, the Financial Times, in support of us. Obviously, the most well-known, most widely read, financial markets paper in the world. How can we do that? The FT is, the media in the UK is annoyingly independent sometimes when we're trying to, promote the stuff that we think is good for the world. But we sat down, with one of the journalists. We gave them a full background briefing. What is the UK hoping to achieve? What do we think this can mean for the future? And it was all written up. It was very straight, but obviously it was also hugely and very widely read. And I think it really helped. And it was, it dropped, a week before the negotiations. It really helped to sort of set for what we're looking for and what we're hoping to achieve. Before we even entered the room. As a result of that, well, not as a direct result of the FT, but as a result of the WTO in 2013, the Trade Facilitation Agreement was passed. And the International Chambers of Commerce said, you know what, I think this is going to help us save costs of between 10 and 15%, 10 to 15%, I don't know if I was clear enough, in trade and logistics around the world. So obviously hugely beneficial to individual businesses, but they also estimated that it could be worth an added 1 trillion to global output. So this is one of those things where the UK is really looking to help support global trade. This is not just about the UK, this is about how it can help some of the poorest countries be able to trade better within their own regions, as well as trade better with the UK. I think I'm going to pause there. I think I've been talking quite rapidly
absolutely.
for about 25 minutes there. But very happy to take questions, and we can sort of take it from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, very useful. If I can kick off with one or two questions. You mentioned barriers coming down for Pakistan in terms of maybe exports to the UK. Is that very closely linked, you think, to Brexit and the idea that, we are trading partners in Europe now, so that, don't mind too much our trading with other countries. And I wonder whether, one, that has had an impact, but also whether it's actually very good news for Pakistan.
Yes, so I'll just put a bit of background for those who maybe aren't aware. When the UK was part of the European Union, we couldn't sign our own individual trade deals. And so it was always the EU and a third party, or the EU and another region. So once we left the European Union, that meant we did have more freedom, and we do have more freedom. to be able to look at what we're doing. And I would say, much like British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, one of the reasons why they came to Pakistan is because their trade with America was essentially paused during COVID. And so they had to diversify. They had to look at where are the other markets which we can start building up now and will be, our stronger trading partners of the future. And I think that's very much the same where the UK is looking. And I would say that, they're looking around the world, which are the partners which, the EU may not have prioritised in the past, but we think we can do more with. And so for us, absolutely, that's why we have a big team here in Pakistan to help build up Pakistan's business environment, so it's the best and strongest it can be. Because longer term, we will want to, look towards, what does a trade agreement between our two, or an association agreement, what does this look like when Pakistan graduates from the GSP system. We want it to be really strong. We do feel that Pakistan and other countries will be able to offer us markets for the future.
Right, excellent, thank you. You talked about sustainable infrastructures and COP26 is coming up next month, I think in Glasgow, and I wonder to what extent does trade also include knowledge transfer? So the UK is going to learn quite a lot. The UK's, I think its target is in 10 years it wants to have 30% of electricity being clean, and in about less than 30 years, 100% carbon zero. To what extent does trading across countries, and Pakistan may be included in that, to what extent might that include the knowledge transfer? What happens in the UK is learned about, this transformation is actually passed to other countries as part of trading relationships?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, because I think the skills and knowledge transfer is hugely important, and the UK is not protectionist by nature. And I think there are a lot of contracts that either as part of a contract is looking for skills and training, or as part of the offer from the UK is, this may cost you more, but we are going to offer you that skills and training so that you can then take this forward and you can skill up your own employees. It is at the moment it's on a case-by-case basis, I would say, but it's definitely something which I think is more standard in UK companies. I think there are other countries, our competitors, who won't offer that, or they will sell goods where the booklet, the manual, is written in a third language, which it's not English, it's not Urdu, it's none of the languages in Pakistan, and it's very difficult for people to, if something breaks, it's very difficult for them to then fix. But the UK, I would say as a whole, and I obviously can't speak for every single company, it is looking to their skills. It is looking, as part of contracts, for example, I think we have, if we're selling helicopters, do we also offer access to a simulator so that people can train more easily? So yes, I would definitely say the skills and knowledge transfer is important. Particularly, Pakistan is a huge and young workforce, to be able to pass on their skills and they can pass it on to others, will just help, that the younger employees to be able to really develop their own skills on a world market, which is just, would be excellent.
Okay, good, that's good to hear. Once you put that closer. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. All right, okay.
I will repeat your questions to the crowd.
Very good, okay, good, Just one more and then we'll open up. It used to be that when a country is visited by a trade commissioner from another country, it is purely business and purely trade. And I sense that in many contexts it's shifting much more towards, trade is one thing, but development, social impact, that also becomes part of the equation. Now, I wonder in your role whether that's something that you're encompassing more and more and more as we go through these relationships and solidifying them.
So trade and development, so I have a development background, so that maybe that is instinctive within me, and that I'm looking at, the the longer term impact and making sure that this is something which is beneficial to both countries. I'm very clear that when I'm looking at trading partnerships, that they are a partnership. Yes, I've just gotten. Oh yes, now I remember the rest of the question. How that links together, and also the current government that is in place. This is not, I don't think, by design, but our Foreign Secretary is the former Trade Secretary. The current Trade Secretary is the former Development Secretary, and so I think between them and these departments, what they are looking at is how does Britain stand in the world, and we are big enough to be able to link all those things and say we're not going to be just, you know, cold-hearted, only go for those trade deals, you know, screw everything else. You know, we are looking at what is the wider impact, and I work on a team. So I have my own trade team, but I work very closely with the development team, and they are looking at, like I said, the wider business environment. But when they're doing stuff on the business environment, they're not doing stuff just in areas where the UK has an interest. They are doing stuff about, you know, transparency for all businesses to be able to access the Pakistan market. And they are very clear that the work that they are doing is not for the UK. They're doing it for Pakistan. And we see ourselves as very much two sides of the same coin. So our development colleagues are strengthening the business environment, and then I am bringing in UK businesses to be able to work in this business environment, and both of them will help Pakistan's economy. So we are very much a joint team on that, and it works, I think, very well.
That's very good. Yeah, no, that's great to know. You know, I think it's happening across a number of different institutions, be trade and others. SDGs seem to be linked to a lot of into sort of activities within countries. Certainly at the business school, you know, our mission is really to impact business as well as societal betterment. So I think you're seeing that sort of relationship, developmental versus trade, kind of fusing together and having a greater impact might be possible.
Great from some of its parts. I'm glad you mentioned the SDGs. I was actually on the team with SDGs as well, way back when. And I was seconded to the Liberian government because there were 3 co-chairs for the Sustainable Development Goals. One was the UK, one was Indonesia, and the third one was Liberia. And so Liberia hadn't, it was 10 years after a massive civil war, they hadn't run a conference in its very recent history, and so I was seconded out to help them to host one of the big UN international conferences, and to help them to coordinate between the UN, other heads of, and the other nations, and to see it all come together back in 2013, and then see the impact of the SDGs on business and on the wider community has been great. You know, I talked to businesses. I was talking to US Apparel and Nestle over the last couple of days. I know I've already mentioned them. I do meet with other companies too, but they have specifically talked to me about their targets, and it's on climate and it's on water sustainability, but it's also on gender. US Apparel have a workforce of 20,000 people, and 3 years ago, 1% of their workforce was women, and they were like, this isn't great. What can we do? And so they've set themselves a target, and they are now within 2 years they're at 9% women. They're targeting 20% women, I think, by the end of 22. All of this is public record, so don't worry. If I get it wrong, you can definitely go and fact check this. They would be very happy to help, because, you know, in the last financial crash, it was very clear that businesses that had more diverse boards were better able to withstand the crash. They were better able to look longer term because they had diversity of thought. And it's not just at the board level. You know, they're companies that really nurture the pipe stream of talent, you know, from the bottom up is great. I went around the factory where they were making jeans, saw some very nice Levi 501s, sort of touching them, and they introduced me to one of the floor managers, and they said, she's great, so we're supporting her, she's, looking after this room, and maybe she doesn't want to go beyond that, maybe she's very happy where she is, but if another woman comes along, sees her and goes, I can be her, and then when she gets to, I can do more, I can do better, and she knows that she will be supported in doing that, I think that's great, and I think it will really help. Again, it's about the long-term competitiveness of a company to be able to withstand shocks, financial shocks, which are probably going to happen again.
That's very, very good to know. It turns out, LUMS is one of the primes, the prime university here, but the important thing is we shouldn't stay here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're doing, in fact, when I came to business school about 5 years ago, we had approximately a 20% ratio female to males. In some programs, it's now 70% female, and I think that's changing the conversations, and it's in a sense making waves outside, and it's those small pockets that begin to kind of
absolutely, it's the ripple effect.
It's good to hear that. So maybe we can open up to questions. If you just put your hand up, maybe just say which program you're in, and I'm not sure if there's a roving mic around. Okay, we'll pick up with the gentleman here, but you've got to wait for the mic. Just in the front here. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a very informational session, very wonderful session. But my question is that whatever you have talked about, you have consulted companies that are very big, for example, Sapphire, Nestle, and US Apparel. But there are a lot of medium-sized companies and small-sized companies that are looking to expand to other countries, such as UK. One company, my own company, is also looking towards that. So what kind of services can British High Commission for Trade provide to such companies? And also, whenever I tried to contact someone in the UK, there was this trust deficit that was there. That, what kind of company you are, what kind of products that you are selling. So can British High Commission or your department help such companies like mine in bridging that trust deficit between the people or between the countries?
Okay. Should we take a couple or?
You can take two more and then maybe
I'll just sort of gather them up. Sorry, let me just get a pen, so I don't want to.
Maybe that gentleman over there.
Oh, I don't have a pen. It's fine. Oh, lots of pens. Yes, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivia, for the wonderful session. So my question is based on two parameters. Okay, number one is UK is like the Pakistan's fourth largest export market, right? So are tariffs that third side?
It's okay. I need to know these stats. You don't need to.
I hope we become the first as well. So I wanted to have your take on, okay, do we in the future, can you forecast that if we can have a FTA agreement in near future, because the tariffs applied on the trades that are almost on the other countries that we're having the free trade agreement is almost close to something that we're applied on the UK products as well. So do you think we can forecast a free trade agreement, especially in the post-Brexit scenario, and also keeping in the mind the geopolitical situation that Pakistan is in right now? Because you are being an historian, I think you are probably analyzing the Afghan situation and how the world is trying to treat us well with. The second tier of my question is, not sure if I should be asking that to you, but sports play a very bilateral role in towards developing countries' relationship, right? So recently we had a tour planned by the English Cricket Board. What's the take of your British High Commission? They backing us out due to the security threat, and how do you actually take this forward towards the effect on the trade that you think the both countries' relation could have? If you can shed some light on that.
Thank you for that. And I saw a hand up on this side of perhaps that gentleman, and then okay, so.
Thank you, Olivia. I was front. I'm a student here for healthcare management. And I'm a practicing dentist as well, qualified orthodontist from UK. I would like to draw your attention, as you probably everybody knows, there are a lot of Pakistani doctors working in UK. But at the same time, there is a huge community of Pakistanis residing in UK, and when they visit Pakistan, they get their services, especially high-end services, which are normally not covered by NHS in UK from Pakistan. So there is quite a lack of collaboration between the two healthcare industries in both in Pakistan and in UK. And sometimes the healthcare providers in Pakistan, they need access to that market, and usually they don't find any channels to get their access to the market, plus their accreditation of their services, plus the training and their recognition to the regulatory bodies in UK. So can help your High Commission, UK High Commission can help the healthcare providers in Pakistan in this context.
Thank you.
Right, okay. You know what? I wrote down on the first question, invest in the UK. Oh yes, no, I remember it now. It's the problem with taking very brief notes. Yes, so on investing in the UK. So I can talk about the department more widely. I'm here in Pakistan to help UK businesses come to Pakistan rather than the other way around. So we do have, and maybe you've already started this process, but just for the rest of the room, we do have a website. It's called great.gov.uk, and it's about if you want to, well, it's for UK businesses looking to trade overseas, and for overseas businesses, such as Pakistan, looking to trade in the UK. And I think you talk about trust deficit. I mean, I think it's helpful if you have a really strong sort of business case, like this is the business, this is how much we, this is our turnover, this is what we're looking to achieve, this is how much we're looking to invest, and this is what we're hoping to do with that investment, this is our 5-year plan. I mean, you don't necessarily, commercially speaking, you may want to keep some of those details back, I don't know, but I think definitely being able to say, we are established in Pakistan, this is our turnover, this is what it looks like, and this is what we're looking to do in the UK, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. On a pathway, the road to an FTA, yes, I mean, I think that is what we are looking to do longer term. Who asked? On the FTA, it was you, yes, just checking. The masks, really quite confusing. So that is obviously something that we will be looking to do longer term. At the moment, like I said, so the UK is currently in a trade deficit with Pakistan, and we are perfectly accepting of that, and the fact that we buy more from Pakistan than Pakistan buys from the UK, we absolutely support that. We are the 3rd biggest market. We want to buy your textiles, we want to buy your linen, we want to buy your towels, we want to buy your rice, which is your 2nd biggest export. We think it's great, and I think that deficit we probably need to balance out a bit more before we move on to an FTA, just because in terms of competitiveness and the business environment, we'd want it to be as strong as possible. But yes, absolutely, that is our, I think with every country. Cricket, the impact on trade, yes, obviously devastated. I came to Pakistan expecting to see a lot of cricket, and then COVID hit, and then unfortunately the ECB pulled out. I mean, obviously we were very sad about it. Our High Commissioner put out a video sort of explaining some of the background behind it. It was a decision made by the ECB, so the England and Wales Cricket Board. And so we do hope that that they will be able to come back sooner rather than later. I would like them to come back before next summer, because that's when my posting here finishes. So that's I'm gonna write to them. That's what I'm gonna ask for. So hopefully, yes, that will That's what I'm looking for anyway. This is a question between two health services, and unfortunately that's just not something that I can answer. I'd love to be able to help. I think it's something you're going to have to take to the Department for Health, I'm afraid. I wouldn't feel confident making any assertions on why it is what it is. Sometimes it's just two different health services and they're not very good at linking up, and I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I think actually your powers extend quite a long way because you've got Virgin Atlantic sort of getting you over here.
Yeah, we did.
So just keep that going.
Yes, no, I mean, getting Virgin here was great. I mean, like I said, COVID's been good for some sectors, and the aviation took a horrible hit. Obviously, all the airspace was closed. You know, borders were closed. It was a really horrible time for them. But you know, what do they call it? Adversity is the mother of invention. I don't think it's quite the right phrase, but in adversity, they look towards other markets, and Pakistan was one where they were like, you know what, we have really good links between, you know, people-to-people links between our two countries. How about we make those links permanent with a nice direct flight? And they're flying from Manchester, they're flying from London, they're flying to Islamabad, they're flying to Lahore. It's great.
Good, yeah. Good. Okay, so maybe we'll take 3 more questions. There was a hand up right at the back there, so we'll take that one. Oh, good.
We could have a woman in the middle section as well. There's a woman in the middle section, if you could ask her a question. I just wanted to make sure different people asking questions. And there's a woman.
Oh, yeah, no, just looking for one.
Yeah.
I've seen one.
Yeah, great. Sorry about that. Carry on.
Thank you. It's a great session. I have 2 questions. One that belongs to the carbon footprint you talked about earlier. I belongs to Honda. We are also working on reduction on the carbon footprints itself, and the conflict mineral 3T and G. So I want to ask you, what are the initiatives you have taken to reduce the carbon footprint with the increase in production we are hoping to get out of this phase? The second question is the renewable energy resources. Again, it's a demanding topic and the need of the time. So what are the initiatives that British High Commission have taken so far?
Okay, that's very good. We have a lady here we'll take on next.
Hi, so thank you for the session. So my question is that Pakistan do not have any policy, trading policy that supports the Paris Agreement target of 2050. So how British Commission is helping to reduce 1.5 degree emissions?
Sorry, could you hold the mic closer to your mouth?
Hello, can you hear now?
Yes, perfect, thank you.
So my question is that we do not have any trading policy that supports Paris Agreement 2015 target. Pakistan do not have any, right? So how British High Commission is helping to reduce the target, industrial target of 1.5? And I do have another question too. So as you tell what are the barriers textile, agriculture, energy and all sectors are facing, the NDC sectors are facing, and how an MBA student can contribute, as we are considered to be a problem solver. So how we can contribute after this degree in solving these problems, the barriers, environmental barriers?
Right.
That's good. And there was so a lady here with her hand up.
Great, thank you Dr. Alnoor and Olivia for the information. You guys pretty much shed a lot of light on how UK is helping Pakistani businesses prosper in terms of the UK export finance, the reduction in tariffs. However, I would really like if you could shed some light on the kinds of businesses, the Pakistani businesses, or the features that the Pakistani rising businesses have that give us like a better chance of being promoted by BHC in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Great. So actually, I think there's lots of. I'm going to answer this in 2 parts because I actually think a lot of your questions are on the same couple of themes. Did you say you work for Honda? Excellent. Well, we'll talk about Honda signing up to Race to Zero. I've just worked out why it wasn't. Yeah, that's trace paper. Okay. Okay, so yes, the Pakistan government doesn't necessarily have, its own sort of targets out of carbon neutral 2050, but we do think it's really important to get those big voices to talk about the importance of carbon neutral by 2050. We think that's where the big voices go, the smaller voices will follow, and they will be able to, what the big voices do, the smaller voices will be able to learn from, and they won't need to go through the same learning process because they will be able to see what works and what doesn't. So this is why we are really strongly promoting the Race to Zero, even if individual governments don't have that. That's perfectly fine. Pakistan has its own commitments that is making ahead of COP26. I think you asked about other renewable energy sources here in Pakistan and what the UK is doing to support that. There are a number of initiatives, and we have an energy consultancy firm called Mott MacDonald, and they are working on Tarbella Dam. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm just going to hold this. They're working on the Tarbella Dam project. So they dammed, and now they are building hydroelectric turbines as part of it. So I think they're just starting number 5, and so that's one of the things where we are looking to produce a huge amount of renewable energy in a way that will service a lot of people. And we also are supporting wind farms through CDC. So CDC, formerly known as the Commonwealth Development Corporation, now it's just CDC. That is supporting wind farms down in Karachi. We've got a great coastline down there, so how about we put some wind farms on there? I think the wind farm's also part of a mangrove forest as well, which is obviously a really good way of it's not a renewable energy source, but it is a good way to help balance out some of the impacts of climate change. So that's a couple of things. And then away from renewable energy in COP26, if you're going to be a problem solver, or at least ask for be able to provide solutions, I think we're talking about barriers. The textile sector, again, has done really well out of COVID, and a lot of firms have been looking at, instead of buying things from China, moving their buying needs to Pakistan. And previously, where Pakistani companies may have then shipped the unstitched fabric to a third country such as Vietnam before taking it back to the UK, because of logistics and the price of moving things across multiple borders getting very high. I think one of the areas where some companies are already looking at, but this is where the future of the textile industry should be moving towards, is diversifying their offer here within Pakistan. So at the moment, there's a strong offer of unstitched fabric. How about moving into the stitched garments and selling those on? 20 years ago, I think Vietnam and Pakistan was very similar in terms of economies. Vietnam diversified a lot, and their economy has gone up as a result. And so I think Pakistan can do similar. And if it is able to use this opportunity of buyers looking, away from China, away from Bangladesh, and looking at Pakistan, I think now's the time to capitalise on that. I would hope. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Olivia. I think we're already on it, so thank you. Yeah. And thanks to the whole team. I think we do have something for you to take away.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. You might want to just do a quick snap.
Very big ones.
Thank